Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 15th meeting of the Yakima School Board. It is Murphy's Law that on the warmest day of the spring, we would have the largest crowd of the year in this room. So we apologize for the standing room only scenario. But I would like to begin with pointing out that I'm sitting next to the most attractive piece of hardware I've sat next to as a board member. This is pretty fun. So we're going to get started here tonight. To begin with, we do offer Spanish interpretation services. I believe Jorge from Language Connection is here. If you need translation assistance in person, please check with Jorge for a device. And Jorge, would you please translate this information for us?
Para aquellos que necesiten de la asistencia de un intérprete, tengo el sistema y estoy aquí para hacerlo. Gracias.
Thank you, Jorge. We will have two opportunities for public comment tonight. The first option is for commenting on agenda items only, and the second option, which comes towards the end of the meeting, is for all other topics. In order to speak tonight for public comment, you'll need to sign two forms, the sign-in form and the guidelines form, which are located in the back. To begin with, Barb, please take the roll.
Director Walker,
Present.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Present.
Director Rice, President Beckett,
Here.
and Vice President Villanueva is excused.
This evening, our agenda has been posted, but noting the importance of the agenda and the numerous attendees present for various reasons, I'm going to ask the board to consider adjusting the agenda and moving the first opportunity for comments from the public on agenda items and items number 1 and 2 from section E, which is the approvals, to run concurrently after the completion of section A. The second opportunity for comments from the public, all other topics, would then also be moved to the current section C updates, item 4. Do I have a motion to adjust the agenda?
I move to adjust the agenda as stated by President Beckett.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any conversation? I know that is an adjustment, but I think it will help facilitate the conversation here this evening better. If there's no other conversation, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, well, and at this point, if you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
Hoy las escuelas del Distrito Escolar de Yakima descansan en las tierras ancestrales de las 14 tribus y bandas confederadas de la nación Yakima.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
La gente de la nación Yakima habitó más de 10 billones de acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties.
En los condados de Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Franklin, Kittitas, Klickitat, y Yakima.
Today we honor those native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture.
Hoy honramos a estos pueblos originales que están vinculados en la tierra a través de historias, leyendas y culturas.
We acknowledge the descendants who live in the world today.
Reconocemos a sus descendientes que viven en el mundo de hoy.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Agradezcamos a los guardianes de la tierra, quienes han vivido aquí y continúan viviendo aquí desde tiempos inmemoriales.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect.
Un reconocimiento es una manera simple y poderosa de mostrar respeto.
And a step toward correcting the
stories, and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture.
Y un paso hacia la corrección de las historias y prácticas que borran la historia y la cultura de los pueblos indígenas.
It also honors the truth. También honra la verdad.
As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Como distrito escolar, continuaremos fortaleciendo nuestras relaciones con la nación Yakima.
In board docs tonight and on the website, you will find obituaries for Marilyn Edna Robillard and for Paul Briscoe, both members of our Yakima School District family who have left us. Would you please join me this evening in a moment of silence to honor their memory? Thank you. For recognitions this evening, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I need to back into the right spot here. We have a number of recognitions this evening, and Barb, help me. Who am I calling on first here tonight? I apologize.
Martha will start.
Thank you. Director Rice, I'll let you lead off, please.
Thank you, President Beckett. The Big Nine announces the Winter NECA/IBEW Award winners. The National Electrical Contractors Association and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers are proud to present the 21st annual recognition to these fine scholar athletes from the 4 Big Nine schools. These 2 organizations are training electricians for the future. NECA and IBEW encourage all high school students to explore with their high school counselors a career in the electrical construction industry, which provides salary levels that are above average and careers that last a lifetime. The following Yakima School District students were recognized for demonstrating superior balance in academics, athletics, and community involvement. From Davis High School Wrestling, Shanastasia Jackson. If you're here, please come up and we'll shake hands around the table. And then if you would stand in front of the board here. She's wrestling in Arizona. Well, good luck to her.
Perfect. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations to her.
Congratulations.
Okay, so I'm told that pictures will be taken out in the courtyard after all of the recognitions are done, right? With families, okay. Also Davis High School Wrestling, Jose Sanchez. Is he also in Arizona? Okay. From Eisenhower High School Girls Basketball, Ariana Ramos. Congratulations, Ariana. Good job. From Eisenhower High School Boys Basketball, Jeremiah Elmore. Congratulations, good job. And that's the end of my list.
Thank you, President Beckett. Yes, it's truly an honor to recognize our student athletes this evening. And first of all, we want to, the Board of Directors congratulates the following student athletes for their outstanding contributions during the winter sports season. We recognize a remarkable achievement of placing 8th or better, and I emphasize better, right? You're going to hear about that in a minute, or better at state, and or receiving a student athlete award. Your dedication, hard work, and sportsmanship exemplify both your talent and your unwavering dedication. So first of all, the board would like to recognize the 2024-25 WIAA State Championship 7th place for Eisenhower Girls Bowling Team. And as I mentioned, as I call your name, please come forward. First of all, there's Haley Lidler. He's not here? Okay. Ashley Lumness. Jolie Hostler. All right. Cecilia Pugh. Jaden Speltz. And Nikili Tabayoyan. Hi. Yeah. And coached by Eli Mundell and Chad Quesnell. I'm wondering if the coaches are here tonight. Yeah, if you can come forward, please, be recognized. And, yeah. Next, for the 2024-25 WIA State Championship, State Wrestling Championship, Davis High School Girls Wrestling Team placed 5th. How about a round of applause for Davis High School Girls? And the team was composed of Shanastasia, sorry about that, Jackson. She is a state champ. First place at 155 pounds. What's that? Oh, that's right. She's in Arizona, winning another championship. Next, we have another state champ, first place at 120 pounds, Reynalda Gonzalez. She's coming? All right, a state champ. All right. Placing 5th at individual weight class, Natalie Pinon Vasquez. And placing 4th at individual weight class, Sawyer Newman. And also the following individuals or students were also on the girls wrestling team. Gianna Sowers, Araceli Nunez, Honey Lopez, Gabriela Sanchez, Rihanna Chavez, and Carla Arce. and coached by Mr. Eric Rotundo. If he's here today, please come forward. Also, Coach Rick Lopez. If you come forward, please, if you're here. Okay. We'll give him a chance to breathe here. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue with the celebration. So for the 2024-25 WIA State Wrestling Championships, Davis High School, we have Jacob Alcala, second place at 132 pounds. Okay. And placing sixth at 138 pounds is Saeed Perez. And coached by Chad Hustader. If coach is here, we'd like to shake your hand. No, not here? Okay, how about an applause for the Davis High School boys wrestling team? Now, during the state championships for basketball at the Tacoma Dome, my wife and I attended that event and went to watch history, right? And it was awesome. The atmosphere was electric. I mean, there's a lot of energy. You saw the Davis High School pride, the Yakima School District representing at the Seattle or the Tacoma Dome. It was awesome to see that, and it was even more awesome to see the girls play. It was extraordinary how they played. I thought I was watching a college team play actually. So that's how good that that they performed on the court. They just blew past everybody. Every team that faced them, they just basically wiped the floor with them, right? So, but yeah, extraordinary event that happened, and so it's an honor to recognize them for the 2024-25 4A WIAA State Championship. First place, Davis High School Girls Varsity Team. All right. And Big Nine League champions. So, all right. And so we're going to go ahead and name all the players here. So first of all, we'd like to recognize Cheyenne Hall, who was the state tournament MVP. All-state tournament first team, Nevaeh Dietz Parrish. Also all-state tournament first team, Isa Garcia. Also, there is Avery Brandt here today. If you're here today, please come forward. Jaden Hernandez. Ella Craig. Brooklyn Gaitan. Paige Gasling. Isla Jones. Kobe Johnson. Iona Perez. Iona Perez, yes. And Taya? Maybe I'm mispronouncing that. Wheeler. All right. How about one more applause for the 4A State, Washington State 4A State girls basketball champs. Thank you, President Walker. All yours. I forgot our coach. Yeah, I forgot Coach White. How about applause for Coach White? And congratulations. Good job. And if there's other Davis coaches here as well, please come forward. I know there's Coach Shag that I can see from here. Coach Garcia, I don't know if he's here.
We've got a lot of students that we're going to do photos inside and outside, but can we do the basketball team with a photo here in front of the hardware with the board, and then we'll start. Okay. Okay, then we'll hold off on that for now. We're pausing. Okay. Okay, we'll pause there. And that takes us to, thank you, Norm.
The last section on awards and recognitions. The Board of Directors acknowledges the exceptional achievements of athletes in the Columbia Basin Big Nine All-Conference. These athletes are the top-ranked athletes in the Big Nine Conference. We commend these athletes for their commitment to excellence and their positive representation of our schools and our community. First off, we have boys swimming and diving from Davis. Carl Scott is the head coach. Swimmer of the Year and All-Conference Honorable Mention, 200-yard medley relay, and second team All-Conference 100-yard butterfly, Peter Whitney, Davis High School. All-Conference Honorable Mention, 200-yard medley relay, Josh Whitney, Davis High School. All-Conference Honorable Mention, 200-yard medley relay, Avery Strom, Davis High School. And All-Conference Honorable Mention, 200-yard medley relay, and All-Conference Sportsmanship Team, Oliver Anderson, Davis High School. Next up, we have some girls bowling. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Is he here?
It's listed later.
It's coming later. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Bob. Okay. In girls bowling, Eli Mundell and Chad Quesnell coaches. We have second team all conference, Nikili Tabayuyan. Also, second team all conference, Cecilia Pugh. And all conference honorable mention, Joelle Osler. From Eisenhower Girls Bowling, coached by Stacy Huntimer. Huntimer Stacy? Okay, is that correct? Okay, I thought that was. Anyway, making the all-conference sportsmanship team is Jasmine Barrera. But there's a conflict here. It says girls bowling Eisenhower, but it says Jasmine's from Davis. Somebody want to clarify that for me? Yes. Okay. Okay. Hopefully we'll get that corrected in our records. From boys wrestling at Eisenhower, coached by Jared Dobby, we have second team all conference, Juan Oliveira. Also second team all conference, Manuel Martinez. Honorable mention all conference, Frank Redfield. All conference honorable mention, Antonio Castillo. And also honorable mention, Aaron Chavez. Congratulations. From girls wrestling at Eisenhower, coached by Albert Cardenas, first team all conference, Miranda Marquez. First team all conference, Edith Benitez. Second team all conference, Andrea Garcia. Second team all conference, Brianna Montes de Oca Rodriguez. Second team all conference, Alisa Gutierrez. And honorable mention, all conference, Avelina Miranda Lopez. Next, boys wrestling from Davis, Chad Huffstader, head coach. Oh. Next up, we have lightweight wrestler of the year and first team all conference, Jacob Alcala, Davis High School. First team all conference, Isai Perez and Miguel Galvez, Davis High School. Second team all conference, Ronaldo Lopez Contreras, Davis High School. All conference honorable mention, Jose Sanchez and Maria Cameron, Davis High School. All conference honorable mention and all conference sportsmanship team, Joaquin Santoy, Davis High School. Girls wrestling at Davis, Eric Rotondo, head coach. Heavyweight wrestler of the year and first team all conference, Shanastasia Jackson. First team all conference, Reynalda Gonzalez, Natalie Pinon Vasquez, and Rihanna Chavez. First team all conference, Gianna Sowers. Second team all conference, Carla Ars. All conference honorable mention, Araceli Nunez, Honey Lopez, Gabriela Sanchez, and Sawyer Newman. Next up, we have basketball, boys basketball from Eisenhower, Nike Lazat, head coach. First team all conference, Lucas Stevens. All conference honorable mention, Jules Terry. All conference sportsmanship team, Jeremiah Elmore. All conference defense, honorable mention, J.D. Hill. Congratulations. First team all conference defensive team, and honorable mention, Michael Cerna. Boys basketball, Davis, Eli Juarez, head coach. Player of the year, Columbia Basin Big Nine, Cesar Hernandez. First team all conference defensive team, Tyson Lee and DeAnthony Wiggins. Second team all conference, Damian Pimentel and Tyson Lee. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All conference sportsmanship, Tice Hayden. And all conference honorable mention, DeAnthony Wiggins. Now, all conference awards for girls basketball from Davis, coached like before, Akil White. Player of the year and defensive player of the year, Cheyenne Hall. First team all conference and first team defensive team, Isa Garcia, Davis. First team all conference and first team defensive team, Dietz Parrish. Second team all conference, Avery Brandt and Paige Gasling. And all conference sportsmanship, Kobe Johnson. So many awards, so little time. Congratulations. Last but not least, we have girls basketball from Eisenhower, Ray Harris, head coach. Second team all conference and defense honorable mention, Nika Roll. First team all conference, defensive team, Ariana Ramos. All conference honorable mention, Mercedes Garza. And all conference sportsmanship, Nicole Salamanca. Congratulations. Congratulations. Now that completes our awards recognitions of the evening. So now, if you'd like to step out in the courtyard, we will take
almost, but not
photos.
quite. Almost, but not quite.
Okay.
We have one more slide.
Oh.
We have 3 coaches to recognize. Columbia Basin Big 9 Coach of the Year awards goes to Eli Juarez, boys basketball head coach at Davis High School. Akil White, girls basketball head coach at Davis High School. Thank you, coach. And Carl Scott, boys swim and dive head coach at Davis High School.
Now we get this. And we want to take the team photo up here, right?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of photography to get to here. First and foremost, though, I want to say a very specific thank you to our coaches and to Barb Fiskus for making sure that all of the recognitions for our athletes are compiled, figured out, and for keeping us in line, presenting them. Thank you, Barb, and thank you to all of our coaches. Yes, yes. Kirsten would like to do photos. What would you like to do first? Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So girls basketball from Davis here first. Everyone else on the courtyard for now. We will reconvene in a matter of minutes. Thank you, everyone, for your patience this evening. I think that the adjustment of the agenda will help with all of the excitement we've had here so far. There are some seats up front. If any of those who are standing in the back want to be able to sit, there are open seats in the front row. We're going to move on with our agenda here at this point. And at this point, we're starting out in section B with our approval. So this is comments from the public on agenda items. I have 5 people who have signed up to speak on agenda items this evening. So when I call your name, if you'd like to come on up to the podium, please feel free. To begin with, Miriam Ann Hubbard from Gilbert. Miriam, would you like to come on? Good evening and welcome. I'm going to just remind everybody as they speak that we do have a time limit. So if you hear the little timer go off, please don't take offense. That's just how we keep everybody on track. But in the meantime, Miriam, the time is yours. Welcome.
Principal, she already knows I'm speaking. She also knows how vocal her staff is, so that's not new either. Just yesterday, all YSD librarians received an email. It stated how valuable our jobs are in the district and asking us to participate in a write-up about us. Said write-up to include our impact on our students and also to describe how libraries are a core part of schools and public education. Oh, the irony. Today, it is widely circulating that if the middle school and high school librarians are not gone this year, they will be next year. One question in this is, who's going to teach the IB and AP students how to access those very expensive databases that are used to complete assignments, or are IB and AP also on the list to be discontinued? What do all librarians do to impact students? Well, firstly, we get them excited and interested in reading. Experts all agree that reading helps raise reading scores. We do that by sharing books that we believe a specific student will enjoy. Where in a 15-minute library parapro checkout is there time for the parapro to get to know students well enough to do such a matchup? And their classroom teacher, who would be in the library with them, also does not know what is in the library to do that matchup either. As for other activities that I personally do to encourage the building of reading skills, logical thinking skills, social and emotional learning skills, knowledge of history, there isn't enough time to detail it. One I would like to share is that due to the amount of class time that CKLA takes to implement 4th and 5th grade teachers no longer have time to teach Washington State or U.S. history. I have worked that into my library schedule. Gilbert students get Washington State history and U.S. history in library. And next week on Thursday, Trevor, I expect you in my library at 10 o'clock for the agreed upon visit from last November. You will then be able to witness how I fulfill also the state requirement to teach about Indigenous peoples. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Our next speaker this evening is Heidi Lynn Griffin from Eisenhower. Welcome, Heidi.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Griffin. I was hired as an English teacher at Eisenhower in 2007. In 2016, I became an instructional facilitator because I wanted to partner with and support teachers, because I knew firsthand how much teachers need someone to explore different instructional strategies to support student learning, and with all the demands of teaching, a 10-hour day didn't allow for that. In 2022, I became an academic specialist. Last year, that position was cut as part of the RIFs. My main concern at that time was that I would displace a younger classroom teacher when I was so close to retirement. I believe that the last positions that should be cut are classroom teachers who have direct contact with students. But don't get me wrong, I was glad to be able to roll back into an IF position, knowing the value instructional partners have with teachers. Last year during the RIFs, a teacher told me that they didn't need an IF, that there was nothing I could do for them that they couldn't do for themselves. Even though that's not quite true, I said they were absolutely correct if they were willing to work an 18-hour day. Tonight, I would like to address the importance of another non-classroom instructional partner, certified teacher librarians. I wouldn't even call them a non-classroom position, because the library at Eisenhower, as I'm sure at Davis, is one of the largest classrooms we have. There are more than 28 to 32 students engaging in academics from 7 a.m. until well after 3:05, and the teachers facilitating that learning are our librarians. I know, my office was housed in the library for 6 years. Beyond the academic and the social emotional supports that librarians provide, student achievement is higher in schools with librarians. In 2014, the Washington State Library Media Association and OSPI conducted an impact study that evaluated the relationship between quality library programs with certified teacher librarians and student achievement. Students in districts with high poverty rates like our own, with access to high quality libraries and librarians, performed 15% higher in reading, 17% higher in math, and were 11% more likely to graduate than those without. I understand the difficult situation we are in and that you have some really hard decisions to make. But in closing, I would like to extend the question that teacher asked to me to you. What can a librarian do for our students and classroom teachers that they cannot do for themselves? Well, again, this isn't quite true, but nothing if teachers don't mind working 18-hour days. Thank you. I know you have really tough decisions to make, and I appreciate the care that you do that with.
Thank you, Heidi. Our next speaker on the list is Francis McSherry from our Transportation District Department, excuse me. Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Kim Olson. Kim, would you like to speak tonight? Welcome. I'm sorry, we should have walking up music for people. That awkward silence is always painful for everyone, but welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kim Olson from Transportation, and I am the shop steward for 760 Teamsters for Transportation. I was here last year to ask for support of Jenna Bowers. I know the budget is upon us and it's a difficult decision for everyone. I come here again tonight to ask for support for Jenna Bowers. Transportation is changing and improving, and I credit part of that to Jenna. Jenna's hours were reduced as trip supervisor, and driving was added to her job duties. Jenna's not complained and does her work efficiently and with a smile. But it's hard for her to find enough hours in the day to complete her job as a trip supervisor. Transportation has improved its efficiency and now allows drivers to take advantage of trips rather than chartered trips, which saves the district a great deal of money. And to accomplish this, we need Jenna, our trip supervisor. I urge you to support transportation with funds and support Jenna. And I would like to remind you that all those students could not have made it to games and tournaments without transportation. And Jenna Bowers scheduled all of those trips. And that much of the funding for schools comes from the ridership on Yakima School District buses. So I hope that we will come out well in the budget. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kim. Yes. You may, sir. You may, sir. Fair enough. Welcome, Francis. Thank you.
This actually came to my mind. We had a driver's meeting today, and there are no blockbusters. I mean, there's, sorry, Marge, but they're not compelling, drama, really spectacular stuff. But one thing hit me today. I don't know if it hit anybody else, but we went through some of our budgets, in particular the trips, and we had the line of what we do, charters, and I was looking for the line of administration input fees. I think the driver is probably calculated in the expense of a trip, probably fuel, the bus, of course, tires. Thank you. Thank you. Are you Les Schwab or are you? No. Okay. But Jenna's, or whoever's in that position, Jenna's there, that she must get an email. She gets that email of a request, to do something, whether it's volleyball, basketball, golf, So someone has to take that, process it, figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to make this work, how are we going to, get these kids to where they need to be. She has a list of people, drivers that have opted in, opt out, sick leave. We're pulling people from all over. But anyway, my point is that when budgets are made, I hope, if we haven't yet, I hope we factor in a place for administrative costs, because if that email came to a dark room, that would not get done. There's just a lot of things that need to happen to get these kids where they need to be. So anyway, I petitioned just to take another look. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McKenna, are you here? Steve, I see your name here, but it also said it looks like your handwriting second opportunity. Are you deferring until the later portion? Okay, thank you, Steve. We'll be here then when we get there. I promise. Thank you, Steve. Okay, then at this point, we're moving to section B2 in approvals. This is where we're looking at resolution 06.24.25. Before we, excuse me, as you've seen in your board docs, we have a suggested action, and then we have, for rationale, we have a presentation from both Jake and from Kim. But to begin with, we are looking at a requested action of an approval for resolution 06.24.25 for the proposed 25-26 program services reduction in force. Do we have a motion so that we may have discussion? I'd like to have a motion so that we can have the discussion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that will take us to discussion, and then we'll take us to our rationale, and we'll begin with Mr. Cooper, please.
Thank you, members of the board, members of the audience. I'll wait for Ms. Fiskus to bring the presentation up. But before I begin, on board docs, there's a set of 4 documents for everybody to go through if they want. There is the PowerPoint deck, which I'll go through. There is a lengthy written summary, which I prepare for these meetings specifically, that goes through in detail in a narrative form what's in the PowerPoint deck. I do that for transparency's sake and also understanding, because we talk about financial information to the community or board members in particular, or any staff member, you want to be clear and concise with that. And I also like to be redundant with the information so that people are all on the same page. So if you want to see those are up on board docs now. If you want to hit refresh, if you've been on the site, they should all be up there currently. So there'll be 4 documents: the PowerPoint deck, an 8-page written summary, the resolution itself, and then also the board action letter, which is the short form of what the board is going to take action on. So those are the 4 documents for everybody to look at this evening and follow along if you want. And I'll begin, but first, before I start the presentation, there's some positives to discuss. The reduction before us this evening is a third to 25% of the size that was reduced last cycle. So in size, it is smaller in magnitude. The district's finances are stabilizing, as we've seen month to month. Budget to actuals are coming in consistently, which we had issues with some internal controls and some spending controls, and those seem to be in place now. And so the budget is now behaving as it's predicted to do. It's very fortunate. So the good news is the finances are stabilizing. Our cash balances are moving upwards, which we need to do. We had to borrow money last fall to ensure that we'd have enough liquidity or cash flow for payroll. We don't want to continue to have to do that. And these reductions are part of the way we will get off of borrowed money. So the other thing that I want to talk about is timing. I had a sidebar conversation with former YE President Vicky Dwyer before the meeting. I want to talk to her about how this time of the year is always very stressful for all of us, because right now I'm going to stand before you and give you a budget presentation on a $300 million annual operating budget, and I don't know about 75 to 80% of my revenue. Right? Sign or die is not done. The legislature is not settled. I will go through, and I have the last few board meetings. I told you we're going to model conservatively, because we're going to try to kind of find a sweet spot between time and then actual data. So the legislature is not done until the 27th of April. Again, the politics, if you have been paying attention, are not aligned. So each chamber has passed their budget. The governor said, I don't like either of your budgets. The Community and Business Roundtable sent a letter then into the legislature from the largest companies and corporations in Washington State, saying that if you're going to go forward with these taxes, we're going to leave. So we have business, politics, a new governor, and declining revenue, and we're going to try to create a budget. Well, that's what I've been tasked with this evening. I'm going to take you through the assumptions in the budget, just so exactly how it's being built, so the big puts and takes, and then the assumptions, and then ultimately the action that I'm requesting before the board this evening. So I'll go through that presentation, and Superintendent, of course, I know you'll interject as needed. So slide. I don't have the clicker bar, but I do that. So this chart's familiar to many, and some often ask why I focus on staffing and enrollment. Staffing and enrollment are the two biggest levers in a school system. We are funded on a per seat basis, on a per student basis. We get revenue for each child. Staffing is the largest expenditure in the school district. Between 80 and 85% of our expenditures every year on an annual basis are for people. Our people are our program, and so we don't take that lightly. Now, I have misstepped already. I should have told you I'm going to talk tonight in a financial and legal terms. It is not meant to be personal. I want you to say, on a personal note, these meetings gnaw at me terribly. Professionally, I have a job to do, and I'm going to provide you the rationale. Go forward with that. But I just want to take kind of a personal note of privilege. These are not easy meetings for anybody, particularly those impacted. But again, we'll move forward as judiciously as possible. So as you can see, historically, our enrollment peaked in 2017-18 at just over 16,200. We had 108,000 staff per thousand at that point in time. As you see, as we progressed, now I want to talk about why we were staffing. So what happened during these times is we had McCleary, so additional staffing and additional revenue was pushed in. We had ESSER, huge amounts of federal money. What Yakima did, and most districts did in their time, is we added staff because there were resources available. Now you see around the state, as those resources dry up and enrollment declines, districts all around are reducing. I know last cycle, there was quite a bit of commentary about how we were the only district in the state doing reductions and nobody else of our caliber was doing that. Well, that's simply not true. There's reductions statewide. There's been reductions for the last 3 cycles. And my colleagues in the CFO world are telling me there's other reductions coming all around the state. So we're not lonely. And unfortunately, our state revenue and picture is not that great. We have a large deficit at the state level, and it's yet to be solved. So, however, you can see our increased staffing levels as we move through the years and our decreasing enrollment. Those are going the opposite direction for financial solvency. One of my major goals is to match labor with student FTE, meaning the right amount of teachers and support staff in front of the right amount of kids at any given time. When that goes out of balance, we then have to readjust because you become financially insolvent. Now, we did a huge amount of adjustment prior year, as you can see. The budget before us has another tightening and adjustment based on declining enrollment and some financial assumptions, which I'll take you through. So to recap that slide, I won't read verbatim. We went from 16.2 to 14.6. It's a decline of about 1,600 students, 1,595, or just under 10%. Last year, as I discussed, we implemented a $22.5 million reduction. That resulted in almost a 9% staffing decrease from the highest peak levels in 23-24. The proposed reduction this evening reduces overall staffing levels by another 2.6%, bringing us to just under 12% in total over the 2 reduction cycles, which gets us from a percentage standpoint back to where we were at our peak. However, when you adjust for enrollment, we are still overstaffed. Because remember, we had that number of staff at 16,000, and now we have a comparable number of staff at 14,000 and change. So on a percentage basis, we have reduced. However, we are still, based on enrollment, we would be historically overstaffed. However, there are some legislative changes that cause some of that, K-3 ratio in particular. Sorry about this. I've never been able to get this clear. Unfortunately, no matter what high def monitor I put it on. This is the simple part. So what you see before you, if you look at the beginning balance, that's 13.6 million. And the percentage below that is 4.7%. That's how we ended last year. Okay, we ended last year at 4.7%. Put that in perspective. 3 million of that, 3.2 million, is YV Tech's reserve for their skills center, and the remainder of the balance, the $10 million, in part is reserved as well. So when it comes to free cash flow of that, we're at $9 or $10 million, not the 13. The board has a required policy that we have 5% unreserved fund balance. What you're seeing before you at that 4.7 is total fund balance. So when I talk about fund balance reserve, imagine it your personal bank account. So if you have 20,000 in there, and part of it is reserved for your mortgage, part of it's reserved for your gas every month. So when we make reservations, that money's not available for use. It's been set aside to use somewhere else. So the board has a policy where the unreserved, meaning unfettered, unencumbered cash balances must be 5% of budget. Currently, our budget's about 290 million, 287 million. So we're well below 5% of that, which would be, sorry, can't do the math, 11, $12 million. Oh, but the point being is we are below the unreserved amounts. The board, I recommended the board after the initial budget reconciliation that we do a classified reduction in force only. And you will see tonight, we're not reducing a significant amount of classified staff because we did those reductions again on a reduction in force that was solely classified, focused on classified units. The budget was adopted with a surplus, and we're also carrying some savings forward. So we heard bus drivers talk about some savings under charter transportation. That's part of that figure as well. We've also seen a decrease and decline in timesheet pay. We have, however, seen an increase still in substitute costs. Substitute costs continue to rise above budget. And in this next cycle, initially it looks between $500,000 and $750,000 more need to be budgeted for substitute costs. They continue to rise, and that's something we have to address as a system. So by the end of the fiscal year, we should end up slightly better, adding to fund balance. The figures before you do not take into account any funds we borrow. There's a $4.5 million note in the fund balance for liquidity. That's not included in these numbers. There's the graph. Every finance person needs a bar graph and a chart. And what that is showing is that's our fund balance. By fund balance, I mean that's how much cash we have in the bank at the end of the year. So fund balance is measured generally once in the year, to be the end of the fiscal year, August 31st, based on your budget. When I talk about cash flow, that's the monthly amount we need to be able to pay everybody's payroll and accounts payable. How much you need month to month for cash can vary, and it's not the same amount you need in fund balance. So part of the driver for the need to continue to reduce and add money back into the bank is to make sure that we have sufficient cash flow each month to pay the bills. So that is one goal of the proposed reductions. So you can see what happens if there's no reduction. Fund balance then drops to about 2.5%. And then again, if we continue on the current spending path, that's just assuming flat revenue and no additional expenditures, we would be insolvent or close to insolvent in 26, 27. Okay. So how do we solve that financial problem? So before the board this evening are the program reductions as outlined in the chart. You can see the reductions this cycle are focused primarily on certificated staff and smaller in magnitude. So the top two are administrative positions that will no longer be in the system. One is the purchasing coordinator of the business office. We've just redistributed those duties and we'll do more with less. We have to model the behavior that we're asking you to all do, and so that's what we decided to do in our department. Assistant Superintendent Murrieta is going to he has announced his retirement in December, so we only get to count half of you, unfortunately, not all of you, and so that position will be reduced as well. The largest portion is the estimated FTE for the enrollment-driven staffing reductions. So twofold. I overprojected high school enrollment last cycle by a couple hundred. In part, that is because the relationship between our skill center, our ALE programs, and the comprehensive high schools is fairly complicated, and those kids flow around a lot. So I overprojected high school enrollment, which left some additional staff in both Eisenhower and Davis. The biggest portions of the reduction on the enrollment-driven staffing do come from the two comprehensive high schools. They also have the largest number of staff in each building, as a percentage. The remainder of the enrollment-driven staffing reductions come from buildings all over the system. And so we had our staffing meetings with principals preliminarily, and they have altered their schedules and planned for those reductions as we tighten ratios. But again, that results in nearly 28 FTE on the enrollment-driven staffing side. And then the next is librarians. I want to talk about librarians specifically. I wanted to make sure they were called out. I did not want to lump them in just to YEA because it is a unique reduction. And it is secondary only. So we have librarians K-12. They do programmatically offer slightly different service, meaning at the elementary level, the librarians are considered a specialist. They're not a specialist at secondary, but they're used for rotation and preparatory periods as well. And they also provide direct service to students at the K-3 level, which makes them part of our K-3 staffing. So in that case, just want to make sure that we're not discussing elementary librarians or reducing elementary librarians. We are, however, recommending a reduction of the 6 secondary librarians. So that would be your 4 middle schools and your 2 comprehensive high schools. The specialist staff, the 7.5 FTE, that is a mix of 2 categorical FTE in buildings that no longer had funding. One was an academic specialist, I believe, at a building that had carried that through categorical funds. However, they were unable to have that this round, so one of those positions were reduced. The other specialist FTE in that comes from a tightening of our specialist schedule at elementary. So at elementary, standard elementary set of specialists would be music, PE, library. It's a standard set across the state of Washington, 3 specialists and a rotation thereof. Some districts have an additional specialist like Yakima, which would be STEAM, math, or they'll choose another content area for pull-out or push-in, right? But every district runs a different specialist. What is before you today, the programmatic goal was to maintain 45-minute specialist sections so we can continue to do common planning and have and facilitate the PLC work. I was able to model the specialist schedules based on the 45-minute sections, and how we're saving or reducing staff is because we have had itinerants that move between buildings. The last few rounds, if a building, for example, generated the need for 4.2 sections of specialists, we were giving them the full 5, not doing the actual mathematics. So in this case, what we did is we did the mathematics on the specialists per the collective bargaining agreement on what they can serve, and then we will have itinerant staff serve buildings across the district. There are definitely pros and cons to the delivery model. However, this is a way to be more efficient with our staffing, make some reductions, and maintain the 45-minute specialist blocks, which was a goal for our education side of cabinet. And then the last piece, which was our only classified reduction, are 5 FTE proposed in the ProTech unit. Those members in particular are serving our online program at this point in time. And so we have to make some changes programmatically to that. And so that is why those positions are on the board as well. So there will be 5 classified FTE before you this evening and 42.8 certificated, or sorry, 40, not gonna do the math in my head, 47.8 in total. a mixture of administrative and classified and certificate and classified FT. Now, I talked about the number being over 6 million, 6.2 million in savings. I will get to that as we move through the presentation, but that is the summary of the action before you.
May I ask a question? Mr. Cooper, thank you. Give you an opportunity to take a drink if you'd like of water. It's been a long couple of weeks and long day. So I want to thank you for your presentation thus far and your preparation. Over the last 6+ months, we've had several commentaries by our Yakima Education Association president. One strongly advocating for a non-reduction of nurses. Are we going to reduce nurses in this RIF and recall?
No, sir.
Our YEA president has also been at that podium advocating for more building administrators. Are we reducing building administration in this RIF and recall?
On this time.
We have also heard our union president advocate for a non-reduction of paraeducators. Are we reducing paraeducators in this round?
There's no scheduled reduction in force for paraeducators this round.
Wonderful, thank you. I just want to acknowledge the work that has gone into listening to the input and the requests and the advocacy, and those don't fall on deaf ears. And I know you've mentioned how difficult these decisions are. They certainly are. And I appreciate the time and consideration that is taken into that. I do, I'm sorry. There's something that was, I don't know. All right, so thank you for sharing that information thus far. I also know that last year there was we did a RIF and a recall of 85 positions, correct? And maybe this question would be directed more to Mr. Murrieta out of HR, but one of the two. My question, out of those 85 that were reduced, how many actually did not have a position at the end of the recall?
So it is good to talk about, before we get to information, of why also from a chronological standpoint we need to do a reduction. So right now we do not have sufficient resignations or retirements to execute the reduction. So oftentimes in the spring you don't have complete staffing information like you do later on in the year. And so what happens is, since you don't have sufficient resignations and retirements, we talked about, we have to execute a reduction in force to ensure from a financial standpoint that the district does not owe the certificated staff the contract after May 15th. And so chronologically, I wanted to make sure that was on the record too. Some of this is timing about what we have in resignations and retirements, and then ultimately the result. So that's what I want. Ultimately, the result last cycle was.
So I think the specific question you asked was, out of the 86 position, how many of them are not working in the district? We had offered every position back. I believe that there were 3 that chose not to come back to the district, and they're working in other districts or other positions. They are still on the recall list. We have offered, I know that we have gone through this cycle to say what positions are open again. I know of one who has chosen to hold onto their recall rights. Typically, once you've made the request, we remove them from seniority, but based on just trying to be best employer that we can, we're leaving that open. If they do not take a position by the end of next contract year, then they would be removed. So everybody is maintaining employment as of last RIF and recall. And as Jake has said, we do have 26 current resignations or retirements that will be brought into the mix when we do announce, and we're probably getting the cart before the horse here, when we do announce a RIF, it is a RIF and recall, where we make sure that the individuals who are impacted then have the ability to dovetail back into the bargaining unit, and then we will immediately start the recall process. There is a lot of time between now and August, and I am very confident that we will have positions for everybody that is impacted by this process.
I want to talk about last year. I wanted to make sure I learned from my mistakes. So this time we just openly disclosed the number of the reduction in force so that people knew at the meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware. And I also want to talk about the pros and cons of a seniority RIF. So one of the cornerstones of union rights is seniority. One of the most common ways to exercise a reduction or any major change in a collective bargaining agreement is through seniority rights, because it's deemed by courts, legal court or law, courts of law, that it's not arbitrary and capricious, right? It's only about your hire date and your endorsement on recall. So that is why most of the time when you do reductions, it's all about seniority-based reduction in force, because we're honoring the union seniority rights. And then also it is the safest way, legally speaking, from an employer standpoint, is you're not arbitrary and capricious. We're not picking on you based on who you are or what you are. We're just picking on you because of your hire date, unfortunately. So I do want to talk about that. And then what happens too is, I often get the question is, well, there's only 43. Why do you have to notify 97 staff? And the reason being is we need to be able to accurately account for positions, and this is position by position, that we are no longer going to fill. And so what happens is, if you look at endorsements, we go, oh, there's 3 special ed endorsements, a psych and SLP, very highly likely to be recalled. That makes the line go higher. Or we have hard to fill physics as an example. So then the line would go higher. And so that's why when you do a seniority reduction in force, your goal may be 43, but you have to notify 97. I think last year we notified about 138 staff for a reduction of 62. So you can see the math is fairly comparable. It just depends on what the actual employees are in each by the seniority list. So I think that was important to comment on what a seniority RIF is and why it happens. And there are pros and cons to it. At the same time, it is what we have before us. So there are, in the reduction in force for you this evening, there will be notifications, assuming you pass the motion on the table. There will be 97 members notified, and then, of course, 43 positions would be eliminated reduction of force. And the same with the classified staff. There will be 5 proposed. They'll be notified for their collective bargaining agreement. Oh, sorry. I debated on this slide a lot. There's a lot of numbers, but they're important. And so this is where the tea leaves come in. So right now, as I noted before, we have imperfect information. My goal is to make assumptions. Right now, I'm making conservative legislative assumptions because they're not settled. So, and both chambers' budgets rely on taxes they haven't passed yet. Kind of a precarious situation. But I want to show you what I'm seeing. Again, we start the year. So this is what 25-26 looks like. The first slide, the simpler one, was the current year, 24-25. So what I'm going to do now is take you through. Let's start in September of 25, new school year. Here's all the biggest puts and takes on the budget. The budget is close to $300 million. I can't really give you a line-by-line detail. I have to give you the major impacts. So what we've been modeling is next year we know, so the first item, hard to see, is we know the cost of the negotiated increases that we've settled. So that's a known quantitative cost. Currently, I know that if the IPD or COLA is at 2.5, I know what that costs us locally. So Yakima has a lot of federally funded positions and a lot of positions still funded by levy. Every dollar the state gives then costs us money locally or from other resources. So when the COLA comes, it's another $2.5 million, about 900,000 and change. So IPD, again, I told the staff this morning, cost of living adjustments, great for the individual, not great for the organization. Just because it's how it's funded. The state does not fund anything 100%. So when they give us a cost of living adjustment, we're stuck with the rest of the bill. The next is an inflationary estimate. I'm putting a $2 million hedge in for inflation. That is not that big of a hedge, given that our budget's $287 million. It's less than 1% in total. We are seeing inflationary pressures still. As you know, the markets have been volatile, and we'll see what tariffs or supply chain happens. But again, that's mostly to account for what we're going to see in insurance. Insurance alone is likely to be close to $1 million. Our policies now are right 300,000 or 3.3 million and change. We're expecting a 30% increase. It's almost $1 million just for liability insurance. So that's part of that inflationary increase. And of course, you know, there will be other increases as well. Levy equalization. There are policy bills around levy and levy equalization floating around the legislature. However, levy equalization is a tax relief program, which means it costs the state money to run. They put money into districts like Yakima, and well, any district, 200 plus districts around the state with levy equalization. But districts that have an unfair tax burden on a per thousand basis, so how much you're paying in a per rate, the state in effect buys that rate down all around the state of Washington as a tax relief program, and it's called levy equalization. Levy equalization has support, Republican and Democrat, which makes it, even though it is outside of basic ed, just to be clear, it could be reduced entirely. The levy equalization could go away, except political support is there. It is outside of basic education, though, and can be reduced. Currently, though, we're modeling current statute. So what's in statute has us down 400,000 levy equalization. So again, reading the tea leaves, I have to go by what I actually have in hand, what's in statute, and then also what I'm assuming. The next is the enrollment decline. So we did have I did overproject enrollment, and that deficit is moving forward to $1.5 million. That's the deficit of budget versus actual after January apportionment. So taking everything into account, that's the amount of revenue less than I anticipated the apportionment. I'm projecting downward again about 240 students. Our enrollment has stabilized to an extent, except our kindergarten classes still continue to be at or right below 1,000. So we're not seeing classes of 12 or 1,300 anymore. We're seeing classes of 990 and 1,000 and change. So that will continue to ripple through the organization. And then last but not least, I have $2 million for unknown costs, enrollment decline, and buffer. And you're like, really? Another $2 million? Well, I haven't talked about one of the other unknowns, which would be the federal revenue. If anybody has any idea on what the feds are going to do, that would be great. And I say that only half jokingly because we don't know what the federal government's going to do. We do hope that they keep the three. We do hope they keep USDA, food service, Title I for low-income remediation, and then IDEA for special ed. Those are our three biggest funding sources. Again, we don't know if the feds are going to change how they fund, if it's going to go to a block grant again. So we are taking risk on right now without perfect information and have to make some type of hedge to ensure that we have some liquidity. Now you take that into consideration, the takes on the budget then, if we're doing negatives, would be just about 11.3 million. So those are that's the downward pressure I'm modeling on the operating budget. The positives, so here's some positives. Thankfully, this community with supportive staff passed the local levy. So this is the second year of that collection. So we had a higher collection in the first year, but a lower one from the older levy. Now we go from a higher levy to another higher levy. And so that pickup is about 2.6 million. So thankful to the voters and for passing that measure, or we would be in a lot worse shape. And then we go into the reductions. So the reductions are split in there. There's a $3 million line item and a 3.2, totaling $6.2 million. One was the enrollment-driven staffing that we talked about earlier, and then the other one was the program reductions, which we also detailed. Now, the other thing I'm modeling in this is that we continue to save money in transportation. No pressure, Anthony, on the charter side. But we have seen some real savings that will continue forward. So I am modeling those forward, those savings moving to continue through the fiscal year. And so I'm not trying to hide the ball there. I do believe those savings are going to continue, but so that's why it's on a positive on the savings side. Now, there are a few things in the legislature that can drive or swing this budget millions and millions of dollars. One is there's policy bills around MSOCs, which are material supplies and operating costs. The other thing that is up in the air is pension contribution rates. So when the state moves the pension rate down for the employer, it's like a COLA in reverse. So when I talked to you a little bit ago about when the state gives a COLA, it costs us money. When the state lowers pension contribution rates, it saves us money. I just don't know how much. So the chambers have a spread of about 4% on the contribution rates. That's a big difference in money. So the model before you takes the highest employer contribution rates, which means the least amount of savings for us, and pushes it through the model. Because what I have seen is the state actuaries who determine what the pension rates have to be, they've also been revisiting the market recently because it's not doing as well. So market returns on everybody's pension plans was doing awesome. And now it's kind of stabilized and they have to make some new actuarial assumptions. So there is a battle at the legislature on how much to put into each of our pension plans. Then that changes over time. I've seen it go high and low. We do have a solvent pension plan in Washington State. I think even Plan 1 is solvent now. But so all our plans are solvent currently, but the legislature does mess with the contribution rate. So I want to say it's like a COLA in reverse. If they change that rate 1 or 2%, that could be millions of dollars one way or the other. But just to put it in perspective, more modeling it conservatively, because we don't have agreement from chambers. So there could be a wide swing in those rates. The hard part about the rates when they change is they're often temporary. So they go down for a couple cycles and then they realize, woo, or the market returns were less than actuarially anticipated, then they'll increase the rates, which will cost us potentially more money in the future. So pension rates are a big part of this budget that's yet to be unknown. So I just want to make sure you all understand that. The other thing two other positive pieces of revenue I modeled is I took the lowest amount of MSOC enhancement out of the House because they're still battling for the material supplies and operating costs number. So the House has the most conservative. The Senate, for example, when you look at them, if it was fully funded, it was another $3 million. Not in policy, though, yet. So again, I have to go about what's in law and what I can actually model. So we model the conservative MSOC increase. And then on the special education, that is modeled with the most conservative multipliers. So each chamber has different multipliers to add. So special education is funded basic ed first, and then a percentage of special ed on top. So it's basic ed plus 110 or 120%. The state messes with the multiplier on occasion. And so when I model what was currently out by each chamber, that does generate just under $1 million in additional revenue. So more positives there. Now that is not what if you've been hearing the news about some big legislation on special education, that's not it. That's them playing around the periphery on small budget drivers. That's not the big full ask. So recap. The downward pressure, again, labor costs, IPD, some inflationary hedges, and then enrollment decline and buffer. And I also didn't talk about the other thing that we don't know is, and we haven't seen it materially yet, but immigration policy could have a downward effect on our enrollment. We have not seen, I don't believe, in our numbers yet. But again, that's another macro policy issue that could drive enrollment down further. It's just not in any, I've been doing this for 25 years. It's not really in any of my models. I don't know how to model that. But again, we could lose student FTE to macro policy or macro level policy. We just don't know. So I believe before you are solid budgetary assumptions based on the known facts and incorporated into expenditures that I am aware of to date. And then, of course, legislative assumptions based on conservative approach to each chamber's proposed budget. In the end, this action before you does add to reserves. Now, there's no, the CFO, that would be me. I'm going to talk about me like I'm not here. Generally wants to get the cash amounts up as fast as possible, right? Because cash is still king and liquidity is really important for the organization. However, I do think we need to continue to take a measured approach as we add back to the fund balance. So that's why you see an addition of just under 2 million. I was not about ready to come over the dais and ask for 5 or 10 million to be added back to fund balance in one chunk. I do recognize that most districts' fund balances were built over many years, They often evaporate in a few short years, but they're built. Fund balances are only built with surpluses. So I know that's something that is hard for people to take in, but we only add the fund balance when we have a surplus, meaning we spend less than we take in. And so we have to continue to add back into fund balance. I believe this does it in a measured way, not overly aggressive, because again, we are balancing how much of our program we can and our people we can have in front of students and supporting students versus our financial liquidity. So again, this will be what happens if there's no action, and we continue to run at that $5.5, $6 million deficit. And then this would be the projection for us to take action this evening. And all my assumptions are correct, which I believe many of them will be. But again, legislature always surprises in one way or the other. Then we would slightly add to fund balance and increase our financial stability and overall position. So, and the last but not least, learning from last year, I thought I would address this head on. So we hear about administrative overhead. I'm fortunate enough that I have access to statewide data tables and can pull the entire state at any given time and calculate administrative overhead based on what's reported in every district's financial statements across the state. So what I want to do this evening is take you through our current rank. So 23-24 is the most recently completed fiscal year that has compiled data statewide. So in that year, which is last prior fiscal year, we had a total admin of overhead of 11.62. Statewide, that year was 12.3%, so below the statewide average. The average in Yakima County is 14.16, significantly below that. And then our ranking in overhead for 23-24 would have us 241 out of 295 districts. Now, that's before we made significant administrative reductions. Our current budget, so I took the adopted budget and have calculated the administrative expense in it. It comes to just under 10.2%. So that reduction from 11.62 to 10.2 is just over $4 million in admin overhead from one year to the next. If we're to maintain that percentage at around 10.2, we would be 281st out of 295 districts, and then the bottom 5%, which I have worked in a few districts and I have consulted for probably 40 around the state of Washington. Having a district like Yakima with overhead close to 10% with the amount of federal programs we have and our poverty levels is pretty amazing. You want to take a look at districts of high poverty and see what their overhead is, I would encourage you to do that. Take a look at the numbers because they'll surprise you. So my prior district has had the lowest overhead in King County for 20-something years, and I noticed they continue that trait. That is something I pride myself on, along with the superintendent, is trying to put every dollar in the classroom as possible. So to that end, that is why you saw smaller amounts of administrative reductions this cycle, as we are near the bottom when it comes to overhead. Questions on that slide? All right, overall questions. Now to recap for everybody, there are 4 documents online. There's the PowerPoint deck that I just went through. There's the actual resolution, which is a legal document for the most part. There's the summary of the action, and then there is this, if you would like, there's this in narrative form. So if you want to go through this in detail on the summary, I also go into more detail about our cash flow and liquidity needs, so you can see on a month-to-month basis why we need a certain amount of cash. So if anybody would like to do that, and again, I'd be happy to answer questions. And I know this presentation, the topic is tough, but essential.
And I know it's going long, but I know we need to discuss also, but I do know also you had Kim Newell's on the item 2. Do you want to take questions first from the board and then go to Kim, or do you want to have Kim speak first?
Take questions from you.
Okay. Any questions from the board to begin with? Nothing. Okay.
So I'm going to bring up
All right, thank you, members of the board and President Beckett. My name is Kim Newell. I'm the Director of HR for Certificated Staff. And I want to talk to you tonight and everybody here a little bit about, you heard about the reduction in force. When you hear RIF, you also want to talk about the recall process. And I want to just talk really briefly about the recall process because they do go hand in hand. YA President Franny Guerrero and I will be working together as labor partners to facilitate this recall process as quickly and efficiently as possible while also following our CBA. Chantel Heffington is our HR office manager. She'll be a direct lead in many of the phone calls that she's making and talking to everyone during this recall process. So tonight I want to briefly discuss the process because tomorrow we will start, our administrators will be delivering the RIF letters if this is approved tonight. The recall process is really to ensure that all employees of the bargaining unit are afforded ample opportunity to secure a position for the next school year. If you are on the RIF list, this does not mean your job is lost. So please be patient while we work through with the labor agreement to fill assignments. YSD is committed to filling all positions internally prior to advertising any potential openings for new employees. So tomorrow, staff members that are on the RIF list, they will receive the RIF letter from their building administrator, as well as a letter outlining this process that I'm talking through tonight. On Thursday, any position that was RIFed will then be posted in building, in their specific buildings for 3 days. If you're on that RIF list, you will not have the opportunity at that time to apply for any of those open positions because those, as part of the CBAs, we follow the in-building process first. Once we are done with this in-building process across the district with the in-building moves, we will then open up the remaining positions to our unassigned pool. So any positions that were eliminated, they go into the unassigned pool and they will have the opportunity to fill a position across the district. After the unassigned pool employees have secured their positions in the district, we will then begin the recall process from the RIF pool. Employees in the RIF pool shall be retained in positions as close as possible to those that they held at the time of the RIF. If those positions are no longer available, they may pick from any other open position that they're qualified for. Once the RIF pool has been completed, if we have open positions, they will then be open to everybody in the district. And then finally, after that final process, if we have any openings, we'll open to the outside. If you're not immediately recalled, as Anthony spoke to earlier, you do have a 2-year right to recall. Last year, we did have people resign and retire throughout the summer. So we were able to recall all but a couple of teachers who are on the recall list for this year. So that's just a brief overview of the recall process. Again, that will start tomorrow with all of our RIF employees receiving letters from our administrators. So any questions from the board?
I guess my only question is sort of a process question, and I don't know the ins and outs of it from last year, but I know there was public testimony as far as people who were questioning the timeliness of the process last year.
Mm-hmm.
Does this time frame match up with our bargaining agreements?
Yes. So that's why we've been very clear about tomorrow we will hand off the letters, and then on Thursday we open up and it's 3 days in building. And so people in the building have the opportunity to take any of the positions. If there are positions taken, then it's another 3 days after that. So we've already done an internal process of movement. So I foresee that it will not take as long as it normally does. Once we do that internal movement, the unassigned pool, they have 3 days to pick their positions. They send those in to Chantel and I. We sort through them. Takes us a couple days to get everybody in their positions and then compile the pool for the recall process. And then we'll start that process. So we are following the legal process as well as our CBA. Any other questions?
President Beckett, I think it's important to say that last year we started this very first process in the first week of January, knowing that because there would be positions that would be impacted, to give people the opportunity to apply for either internal or external positions as quickly as possible. This year, it is happening a little bit later because we are not faced with that dynamic and we have a long session. And that's the process of waiting to see what drops from the state legislature. So yes, we are doing it a little bit later, but we're still over 1 month ahead of the legislative requirement.
Any other questions from board members?
And thank you, Kim.
Mr. Cooper, do you have anything else?
I do. Just one thing. The budget could come out better, right, than we anticipated. If that's the case, that will be a great conversation to have, because then we would talk potentially about where we add back to the system, or maybe we reduce less. So that option is still out there, but the politics obviously are in limbo when it comes to increased taxes. So there is a scenario where big policy bills pass and the two chambers and the governor reach agreement where the budget is better off. There's a scenario where it's worse as well, and we potentially don't add to fund balance and have to figure out other ways to save money. Those are both options that are currently on the table, given that we're in mid-April and sign of dies until the 27th, and they're already talking about a special session. So this is not my first rodeo when it comes to the legislature. So that's why I model things conservatively. But you know, there are scenarios, and the swings are so large. We're talking about billions of dollars of swings at the legislative level, where the budget looks quite a bit different than what was just discussed. In that regard, I'll come back with you along with the superintendent, and we'll provide you an update. And then if there's a need for different direction, we'll take it up with the board of directors. But I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that as a potential.
Hearing no other discussion, the motion to approve resolution 06.24.25 reduction in force is on the table. It's been moved and seconded. We've had discussion. We can proceed to a vote. Barb, would you please call a roll call vote for us tonight?
Director Walker,
Yes.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Yes.
President Beckett.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, Barb. Next on our agenda this evening will be the approval to purchase student and staff technology devices in alignment with the replacement cycle. And again, Mr. Cooper, I think this falls to you. To begin with, again, Jake, before we go to rationale and information, the board's being requested to approve the purchase of student and staff technology devices as part of the scheduled replacement cycle, utilizing the recognized interlocal purchasing agreement with Dell for a total cost of $1,421,089.69. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll go to Jake for the rationale, please.
Before you this evening is a request to approve a technology purchase for our laptops. We have been lucky in the last 3 to 5 years. We're able to use ESSER funding and also FTC funding and E-rate to buy down significantly our cost for student laptops and technology. Unfortunately, those times have come to an end, and so we need now to begin to purchase laptops out of the general fund. And what you see before you is a multi-year approach to purchasing our needed laptops for replacement cycle. So this is just for replacement cycle only. I have spent a lot of time with Mr. Andy Gonzalez going over this, and I would recommend a yes vote on this action for you this evening so we can accomplish our laptop purchases.
Are there any questions from members of the board? Hearing no questions, no discussion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That'll take us to our reports to the board, and we'll begin with Omar Santoy, Executive Director of Student Services. Omar, welcome this evening. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, President Beckett, members of the board, Superintendent Green, and cabinet members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. We are glad that the board is interested in our district-wide school counseling program and the meaningful partnerships that we continue to build in this community. Joining me in this presentation will be Dr. Heather Hasty-Yulery, principal at Davis High School. Her and I will be primarily speaking to the partnerships. And then also directors Aaron Thomas, Director of Student Services, and Gabe Stotts, Director of Career and Technical Education. And they will primarily be speaking to school counseling program across the district. So let's dive in. I get the presentation up. Thank you. So let's dive in. In regard to our school counseling program update, this year our counseling team is focused on strengthening student support structures. And really they've created two major initiatives that they are centering on. The first is leveraging our policy process. And really what that means is they have created professional learning teams. And the goal is that they work collaboratively to boost student success across the district. And the second initiative is supporting the whole student. And that is work that is being done to enhance and focus on mental health support, continue the great work that we do and that our counselors do around academic planning, and working to create strong support network for all of our students. And that's really trying to leverage the natural support systems in our students' lives and really engaging our families in the education process throughout their education career. And switching gears to community partnerships, we're proud of the relationships that we've built and that we continue to build with our community. Our district currently partners with around 30 local businesses across Yakima. Some examples of the businesses that we partner with are businesses like barbershops, grocery stores, banks. Those are just to name a few. And while Student Services does not manage the business partnerships, we definitely benefit from them as we have a lot of students and families that come to our office in need. And so we have businesses across Yakima stepping up and supporting our students and families. And beyond businesses, we have formed strong ties with professional agencies across Yakima. And these agencies are providing vital services to our students and families in their professional settings. Some of these agencies that we partner with is Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and that partnership really focuses on student well-being. Our regional school district, ESD 105, we partner with them, and they offer mental health and substance use support for our students and counseling services. The mental and physical health providers across Yakima, we have a great relationship with them, and we work together on just keeping our kids healthy. And then organizations addressing needs like things like homelessness, food insecurity, and poverty. We're grateful for the ongoing support that we also get to continue with the faith-based organizations across Yakima. They show up for our schools in a very powerful way every year. And we're so thankful and grateful that we get to continue to be in relationship with them. At our last board meeting, Dr. Green, in his superintendent update, shared that Principal Hasty is set to present at the upcoming WASA conference. And I wanted to give a little bit more information about that. It is really, truly a special thing that her proposal was selected. I don't know if the board got any additional information, but there was over 170 proposals submitted to AWSP, and hers stood out amongst a ton of other proposals that are just very inspiring And so we're just very proud of that, that AWSP and WASA would take notice. And a real treat that we have tonight is Dr. Hasty Ullery is here, and she's going to give us a brief overview and a sneak peek at what she's hoping to cover in her presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for letting me take this time real briefly. What we're excited about is with our faith-based partnerships, and at Davis High School, it has just blossomed. It has grown, and it is just fantastic. The picture you see up there, that's Donnie. If you ever come to our building in the mornings, Donnie is out there greeting kids every day and like without fail. And if he's not there, the kids are asking if he's okay. So, you know, and it's very rare that he's not there. It's usually because he has an appointment somewhere, or he'll go over and others will drive him like to the sporting events and different things and stuff. So he's made a lot of connections with our kids. And if you ever do go out there and you say hi to him, he'll kind of look at you and nod, and then he turns to the kids. So because that's where his passion is. That's that greeting, the spending time with students, and that particular connection that actually started with just like those first couple of days of school when you're looking for partners and community partners to help you welcome students in, help find places, such like that. And Donnie, as well as others, have stuck around, which is fantastic, helping us in different ways. But that's very special. Some of the other ways that our faith-based partners help us at our dances, at prom, at again, at sporting events, also though like tutoring and such. So they come in, they do tutoring. It's very much like working with community partners, which is what they are. And then guest speakers for our students. So like Nina and John, there's a couple from yet a different faith-based community who come and they speak to our students about just their story, and they can really relate. So just as like you bring in a guest speaker, there's some who have some very similar experiences as some of our students with like gangs and such like that. And so, and then just their journey and their way out. And they share that with our students. And then on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, you will see a group of faith-based partners on our campus. Beautification, for lack of a better word, really like we've got Linda Isella, we've got Susanna, we've got some others who come with her, and they're going around and they're picking up the campus, but at the same time, they're talking to people. They're building the morale of the staff as well as the students. And that is so cool. And again, you see them every Tuesday. So it's consistent, and it's the consistency in our students' lives as well that is just so fantastic to see. But just things like picking up things, pointing out like, hey, there's some issues that we're seeing or that we're hearing in the community. Can we meet and talk about it? In fact, just this morning, we had a meeting with, it's Nina, John, Jake Cups, another one of our partners, and Donnie. And we were talking about how do we grow our faith-based partnership from faith-based to true community partnership even bigger, and what are some other partners we can bring in. And so it's just to give you kind of a taste of some of the things we're doing at Davis that our partners are doing, right? And the kids. And so the presentation that we're doing in the summer, really, we'll be bringing along some of our faith-based partners to talk about it. We'll be videoing some of our kids to talk about what's it mean to have community partners in their life. And so that's my part.
Good evening. I get to talk to you about my favorite thing. And oops, I just did the wrong thing. Sorry, Paul. Okay, here we go. All right. So again, good evening. I have the privilege to facilitate the elementary school counselors PLT. And this team consists of all the elementary school counselors for our K-5 schools. And so they collectively represent 6,381 students. and all of those students' social emotional learning and all the different levels that they are at. So it's a true district level team. We are in the first year, so we are building the team, and it's a rollout year. So there's a lot of work that has to happen before you can start at that first level of the PLC process. You're really developing your team. And so I liken it to like a farmer who wants to have an abundant harvest. They wouldn't just go out and throw seeds at a field and hope for the best, right? They would till the land, they would prepare the soil, they would remove any barriers. And that's the work that we have done this year so far, and we will continue to do. And that work helps to truly prepare for that planting that we're doing. So,
excuse me, Aaron.
Yes.
For those that are in the viewing audience, could you tell us what PLC stands for?
Yes. So the PLC is a professional learning community, and that would be our district. And a PLT is a team of that PLC. So we're a professional learning team. We're our counselors. So thank you. And so then we have done all that work to develop that team to establish all the things that we need to do. And we're nearly finished with that preparation work. So we are completing our needs assessment right now, and we are working on root cause. And then from that work, then we create an action plan, and then we can start continuing our work on those essential standards. And so then we start the PLC process. So that important work that we're doing, it aligns with strategic plan goal 1. And in goal 1, it says that our students will acquire social emotional skills. And so we are deep into that work. I'm really proud of the progress that we have made this year. I'm also very impressed with the level of dedication and commitment of our school counselors. And I'm looking forward to year 2, where we can dig deeper and then share with you that entire plan and the progress that we have made. Thank you.
All right, good evening, President Beckett and distinguished members of the board. I'm Gabe Stott, CTE Director, and I'll be sharing updates on 2 crucial initiatives supporting our students' post-secondary success. So in 2023, Washington State took a significant step forward with House Bill 5243, which established a universal high school and beyond plan for all students in Washington State. Washington did select SchoolLinks, and that platform is going to ensure every student in our state has equal access to a comprehensive post-secondary planning tools. Now, our counselors are at the forefront of this transition, and we're implementing robust training programs that factor on 3 key areas. First, career pathway exploration and guidance. Second, graduation requirement tracking. And third, college readiness support and planning. Now, this platform will serve as our counselors' central tool for guiding our students through their post-secondary journey. Now, looking ahead, we're planning for a full implementation in the 2025-26 school year, and with ongoing training and integration into student planning meetings. Now, secondly, complementing our SchoolLinks implementation, we've strengthened our relationship with Central Washington University to enhance our dual credit programs. This collaboration focuses on providing our counselors with comprehensive, up-to-date information about college and the high school courses. Now, we've identified several key areas where counselor support is crucial. First, addressing common misconceptions about program eligibility and costs. Second, clarifying distinctions between college and high school, Running Start, and our advanced placement and international baccalaureate programs. And third and finally, supporting our families and making better informed decisions about these opportunities. Our counselors are now better equipped to guide students towards dual credit options that align with their individual career and college goals that are going to be outlined in their high school and beyond plan, which is SchoolLinks. Now, in conclusion, these initiatives represent our commitment to providing comprehensive post-secondary support for all students. Through the SchoolLinks implementation and enhanced dual credit guidance, we're building a stronger foundation for student success beyond high school. Now, thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Norm, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, first in the secondary level, how is the information on career pathways and graduation planning delivered to students? What's the process and method?
So there's a few different avenues, one-to-one counseling, obviously with students.
Sure.
We are looking at starting as early as 7th and 8th grade to kind of look at what may be a futures night for our students where they can actually explore some of these pathways early on so they can really opt into different kinds of pathways as well. Second could be through our advisory classes at high school where we're looking to increase some time as well. Now through School Links, it does have options for graduation pathways through their course planner. So they could select an AP if they're an Eisenhower student that would build their schedule for them. Same thing with an IB. If a student wants to go through a career and technical education graduation pathway, they could at Eisenhower select like their welding ag mech program, and then it's going to also help populate that schedule to meet that pathway as well.
And then I have a question for the, thank you, by the way.
Yes.
I have a question for the elementary level as well. In the PLC or in your process, we obviously have some things going now programmatically, but I'm curious if that's a three-tiered process, kind of like we have a tier one system where we have curriculum delivered to all students in terms of social emotional curriculum. And then what is our structure like in terms of tier two secondary level interventions and tier three interventions, if that's the model we're still using? I'm curious as to what are some of the curricula being used? Is it being used widely? And also training in the use of social and emotional curriculum. So
Sure. So we do have a multi-tiered system of support for our students. And so in tier one, we rely heavily on the teachers to provide the support to the students. So the tier one would be their everyday school. We want teachers to be able to integrate that work into their teaching. And our counselors start at tier two, and then they are providing more intense support, and they are doing like small groups or even like a tier three one-on-one. They're providing that additional support. And there are different programs that people use, and the teachers and the counselors have the opportunity. They do have academic freedom to choose what they want, but we do have some resources for them, like Second Step and other resources out there. So they do have that freedom to choose, and our counselors come with a toolbox of their own. And so we don't tell them exactly what they're going to do, but they get to decide the essential standards that they're going to focus on, and then we will be updating that plan every year.
and are you using the ASCA National Model Standards as your standards for?
We use OSPI, socially emotional standards.
Use their standards. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Gabe. First and foremost, thank you for your work, especially in the CT area. And I know that we have had this dual language now growth in working with Central Washington University. Oh, dual credit, I'm sorry. Do you have any of you might not have this now, and I can get it from you and then share it with the board, but do you have any numbers of how it has increased over the last, let's say, year plus?
I don't have those direct numbers on me. I can get those from Principal Diner and Principal Hasty. I can say with confidence they have grown in the last year, and we are even looking at other classes as we grow and expand that kind of cross career and technical education and those college and the high school courses through Central as well.
Thank you. If I could get that from you at some point, I'll share that with the board. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Our May 5th meeting will be at YB Tech, from what I understand, so we may have the opportunity in the very near future. Right, we're setting it up. Mr. Santo, does that conclude?
Yeah,
Bob, sorry.
I didn't know if I'd be invited back. There was just one more thing I wanted to mention. And I think just kind of in conclusion, we are just so proud of our school counselors across this district. They're hardworking individuals that do amazing things for our students. And also, we are very proud of this community and how this community shows up for our district and rallies around We can't do this alone, and we're so thankful for our community partners. And there is I believe, some recognition that is coming, Superintendent Green.
Yes, I do want to acknowledge the work that Omar has really done in creating a bridge to our community as well. When we talk about the faith-based partnership and the recognition that's happening around the state for that, and how we have every school that has multiple faith-based partners and the impact thereof, it is tremendous and the envy of numerous districts and cities. So I've never seen anything like it to the magnitude of a district our size. And it directly correlates to the work that Omar has done, but also no, I can compliment you on this. And I will also say that part of it is that, bridging with, I think it was Jake Cupp that played a significant role. If you know Jake Cupp, he's he has achieved the lifelong dream of having somebody in your family become more famous and have more recognition, which is what you want as a parent, as a grandparent. So he's just a tremendous resource and community advocate, and he was instrumental in really growing and being a strong catalyst for the initiation of the faith-based partnership. And he will be recognized in the coming weeks. He will receive a Washington Association of School Administrators recognition for community leadership. It'll be from our district to him, and I'll look forward to bringing him back to the board, and we can go into more detail about that faith-based partnership and how it played out. It's very, very interesting, exciting, and cutting edge, and we look forward to that. Now go ahead.
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the recognition went to Jim. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Heather, Aaron, and Gabe as well. I have to just say, as a parent who goes through the Davis High School drop-off every single morning, that Donnie's presence is a bright light in everyone's morning there. It's a very nice thing to see at the drop-off line every morning. So thank you to all four of you for the presentation this evening. That takes us to updates, and begin with members of the board. Does any board member have an update for the rest of the board tonight? I know you want to talk about the legislature, but you're holding back. I appreciate that.
If I made a statement tonight at whatever time it is, 9:19, it would change by midnight, because they're having very, very long days and short nights and getting very tired in the meantime.
Raymond, anything? Okay. Dr. Green, that'll take us to the superintendent's update.
Thank you. I'll keep this short as well, but since I was called out as maybe sharing something from the legislative component, I did shoot out a quick text about a half an hour ago, only because I was in touch with one of my contacts in Olympia that works directly in the halls of the government there, and she had connections with conversation with four senators about a bill that was supposed to drop yesterday. It was postponed until today. I reached out and said, has it finally dropped? And it has. I have not read it yet. It's now on my phone, and I look forward to reviewing that in the next couple of hours after this meeting. Senate Bill 5812. Senator Wellman is in support of this bill, not completely elated with it from what I understand. My words, not hers. My understanding secondhand. But it's something that she can live with, and maybe even better than that. So again, not having read this, I was contacted to speak and advocate in support of this House bill. So again, I'll review this evening. I would have had a report on you, but it just dropped less than 24 hours before there's going to be a conversation about it. That starts at about 5:30 or 5:30 tomorrow night, and I believe it's bill kind of fourth or fifth in the category. So it could be about a 3 or 4 hour session, or before it even gets to that piece. So that'll be kind of more of an update. Had we had this information, a couple of days ago, we might have a different conversation in this room. From speaking, we're in a situation now where we could see a shortened session, we could see an extended session. We just don't know, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on what this bill looks like for us in the education realm. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. We do have a long list of events in board docs, and we see sporting events, musical, theater, etc. events. I'm wondering, Kirsten, if you wouldn't at least give us a brief update on what's going on with our Yamate exchange. I know that's a very exciting thing for a whole lot of people. If you don't mind ad-libbing for a second for us.
I would be happy to. So our 75 Yamate students and 5 teachers came from Japan, arriving on the 11th, and they will be in Yakima for 2 weeks. They will leave on the 25th. They are doing many activities at schools such as Eisenhower and Davis, also a few students at East Valley High School. And we have over 40 host families in the community. We also have some sponsors of past participants from the 90s who are helping with scholarship for our outbound portion. We also have the Tamaki Foundation, who is sponsoring our closing reception at the Yakima Valley Museum, with our Japanese American community leading us through the permanent exhibit now of the Land of Joy and Sorrow. So that will be our final event on the 23rd. Then the kids pack up and go. I was actually just texting with a well-known coach here, Eisenhower, Phil English, who has caught wind of an athlete from Japan, a running track athlete. So this athlete will be practicing with them at 6 a.m. in the morning. So many cultural opportunities that are being expressed back and forth. Many people in this room are hosting. Myself and my husband have 4 boys at home right now, anxiously awaiting my arrival back at home so they can ask me what they can do after school tomorrow. So super fun. Thanks for asking.
Okay, we'll go then to our second opportunity from comments from the public. This is for all other topics. We have 3 that are signed up, I believe. Mr. McKenna, are you here? Steve, do you want to begin tonight? Good evening. Welcome.
My name is Steve McKenna, taxpayer in the Yakima School District. I've spoken to you numerous times about some of these issues. I know the financial issues presented tonight. We had the financial calamity back in October where we laid off classified staff. Now we are ripping off staff that serve students directly, primarily, and but the district has money to give the superintendent a large raise, which I spoke to at the last school board meeting, which is already larger than the governor's salary and roughly twice what the state school superintendent receives. He has one of the largest salaries in Eastern Washington of any superintendent, and the district has, I would say, a couple things about the central office administration there. The district has, I brought this up earlier this year, the district has more central office administrators than the district had in 2020, with over 1,500 fewer students. The district has added large numbers of classified administrators that do not show up in the stats that Mr. Cooper mentioned today. And I will show you the next meeting. I'll probably show you the ratio of administration to teachers, and we will talk some more. But it's just frustrating to see that we have money for raises for the superintendent, but we're laying off staff that serve students directly. It's just an interesting way to operate, and not a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next on our list tonight is Duff DeWitt. Mr. DeWitt, would you like to address the board? Welcome. Good evening.
I'm Duff DeWitt, Yakima School District parent, teacher, and YEA bargaining chair. I'm going to speak first off as a parent on the topic of the RIFs and losing our 6 secondary librarians. Heather Kessler is the name of the librarian at Eisenhower whose job you cut today. That is the woman that my daughter sees every day when she comes to school. We arrive at 7:30 on the daily. She walks directly to the library, and she and Mrs. Kessler have a wonderful conversation about the books that she has been reading for the week. She returns those books and gets more. Those books are the thing that drives my daughter daily to exceed in the classroom. That relationship started on the first day of school. It will go all the way through this school year, and I feel personally devastated that that is going to be a conversation I'm going to have with my kid, that in the place where I work, that where I put all my time and effort, we are the district that doesn't have secondary librarians anymore. I find that to be maybe one of the saddest and most embarrassing statements that I'm going to have to say about the place where I work. As an English teacher, the library is a place where I go on the daily. I talk to Ms. Kessler constantly about books that my students would be interested in, so I can have those conversations with my honor students. It is an uphill battle that we fight against technology in order to encourage long form reading. And it's a battle that I will continue to fight because of how much it brings their academics up as they push into other classes with the ability to focus and maintain that attention throughout activities. The storytelling that takes place in that, and the ability for someone to advance that storytelling onto a student with that level of expertise and knowledge, is not something replaced by a checkout specialist in a gorgeous place full of materials for these students to access. Which also means my son will not have a librarian at Franklin any longer, and my other son only gets 2 more years of librarian access. Like, this is like a mind blower for me as an English teacher. In response to Mr. Cooper's presentation, I fully understand there are hard decisions to be made, and we all knew walking into this room what was going to happen today. I mean, it was no secret. He's been talking about it all year long. There's going to be a reduction in force. My disappointment just lies with the way that we are treated, and the way that we are presented this information, and the way decisions appear to be made in this environment, which feels heartless, cold, and without empathy. 2 opportunities that Dr. Green had to ask Mr. Cooper about the presentation he was providing. The opportunities were given to cherry pick comments that our union president has asked about providing support. And it obviously showed that other memberships in other unions were not being cut, but ours was. Every time that, and that wasn't your intention to be disrespectful, it certainly came off that way to everyone in the room. And every time that happens, you are disrespecting 1,000 teachers that view her as our union leader and representative. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Duff. We have one more speaker signed up, Annie Blake from McKinley. Annie, do you want to speak tonight? Welcome. The floor is yours.
So Annie Blake, 3rd grade teacher at McKinley Elementary. I do know some teachers that are going to be personally affected tomorrow with the budget cuts. Jake, I know it's a hard decision, and you came in to the district with a deficit. Like I've asked before, I think there's more that could be done that doesn't cut from the teachers. But it shouldn't affect the teachers. It's affecting our students. We don't need new technology at the elementary level. My gosh, I'm an old school teacher who says get rid of the computers, let them read an actual book, physical book that our librarians give to them. Let them go outside and enjoy nature. Let them go outside and explore the world around them, but not on a computer. We can do so much more without a computer. So please, if you need to, take our elementary ones. And if we have to, get rid of the SBA at the 3rd grade level. Next thing, because I don't know any 3rd graders that really need to take a 2-week-long test in math and reading. Jake, Dr. Green, I do want to say thank you for wearing red. School board members, I mentioned last time that we represent you. You represent us. We vote for you. It's not just Dr. Green. And yet you had no questions about Jake Cooper's budget decisions. No questions on why we need to spend over $1 million on technology and laptops, but you had a lot of questions about the counseling program that was presented. How do you come to your decisions? I would like to know how you do your job. Do you pre-read any of this? I know from the embarrassment of the recognition earlier tonight, you guys aren't prepared. So I know you don't pre-read and come. Like as a teacher, I spent countless hours planning each minute of my lesson, researching my lessons so that I can provide research-based lessons and evidence to my students. Do you even do that? Is it too much to ask that you plan ahead? Our contract hours is what, 7.5 hours? I spend well over 10 hours a day doing my job because you keep cutting positions and I have to do more and more year after year. Jake, you mentioned that the substitute budget is higher than you planned. Have you thought about it? Because you've cut all of our support, so we're doing more. You're stressing us teachers out more where we're going to the hospital. I spent a week in the hospital, guys, for spring break because of the stress that this job has been putting on me. Thank you. Just remember,
That takes us to our consent agenda this evening. The consent agenda is located under Section E in your board docs. It includes the approval of minutes for March of 2025, notification of approval of warrants for March, approval of personnel actions, budget status reports for March of 2025, and the narrative monthly financial update from the Assistant Superintendent of Finance. Does any member of the board wish to have any item pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion tonight?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Having read everything in the consent agenda and on the entire agenda, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda tonight, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Section F, under policy governance, we'll begin with Mr. Murrieta for policy 1000.2.2, the working environment of staff.
I believe this is the second reading. It has been posted in board docs in respects to a summary of what the document states, that we have policies which govern our employees, provide for labor agreements, grievance processes, and checks and balances. Do you have any questions?
I think this is our first reading, is it not? Because we haven't received our Survey Monkey on this yet.
That's correct.
Yeah, just for clarification. So discussion or comments on improvements or tweaks to the policy can be submitted. The Survey Monkey will be sent tomorrow. Section 2 is regarding policy 1000.2.4, and that is Mr. Cooper.
Good evening. Before you was financial planning and budgeting. This document was updated with all the annual budget updates you get. So basically before you was a recitation of the report that I gave you. So annually you're required to have a report that provides you assumptions on revenue and expenditures, what we're going to collect in that period, et cetera. So you had this in advance and before. It's been updated with the annual updates. And again, you actually saw this, even though the monitoring report is a year in arrears and back, you just saw that actually come to life before you with a presentation. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
No questions. Again, that Survey Monkey will be sent out tomorrow. Section number 3 is the approval for ratings for the policy of 1000.2.1, treatment of students and their parents, guardians, again to Mr. Cooper. The responses were in board docs. This one is second reading.
typically we,
So we're voting to receive.
yeah.
Were there any comments or elaborations on the written comments that were submitted? Okay, hearing none, then a motion to approve the responses.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have a need for executive session? Okay. Well, then it takes us to the end of our agenda this evening. So we will be adjourned until May 5th and our meeting will be at YV Tech. So we'll see you all then. Thank you. We are adjourned.